Anantam Shukrana Guruji for this beautiful, blissful divine satsang. Last week we read chapter 49, 50 and 51 of Rudra Samhita Part 3. In this we read that as Shiva and Parvati were performing the marital rites as per the worldly convention, Brahma, who was deluded by Shiva's Maya or his illusion, saw Parvati's feet and he was overwhelmed with lust. And Shiva got to know of it and he was furious and he wanted to kill Brahma immediately. This caused a lot of hue and cry all over, and all the gods were terrified, and they tried to eulogize the Lord with calming words, and eventually Shiva was delighted and he forgave Brahma, and he offered him freedom from fear. Now, after that, at bidding of Shiva, Brahma performed the remaining rites of Parvati and Shiva, the marital rites. And after the rites were performed, Shiva gave a lot of gifts to all the gods, which included cows and utensils and gems. Then, later, the ladies of Himagri took Shiva and Parvati to the abode of Kubera, where they performed the social customs that were pertaining to the marriage. Then they took them to the near the bed chamber, the entrance near the bed chamber, which had been very beautifully, exquisitely decorated. And there, they made Shiva and Parvati sit there. Then 16 celestial ladies, which included Lakshmi, Saraswati, Arundhati, etc., they all came there, and they made Lord Shiva sit on a throne which was made of gemstones. And then they started making witty remarks about Shiva and Parvati. And hearing them, Shiva told them that they all are like mothers to him, and therefore they should not make such trivial remarks. And listening to all this, they were ashamed of doing so. Then later, Shiva and Parvati, they were taken to near the bed chamber, where they fed sweets to each other. In that moment, Rati, who's Kama's wife, saw this and found this as an opportune moment to request Lord Shiva to resuscitate Kama. So she went there with a bag of his ashes and requested Lord Shiva to resuscitate Kama. And of course, Lord Shiva, because he's the kind, benevolent Lord that he was, he took one glance at those ashes and Kama was resuscitated. As Kama came back to life, he asked for forgiveness to the Lord, and Lord was happy with him, so he granted him a boon. Again, he asked for forgiveness, and he also asked for devotion towards Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was delighted, and then, of course, Shiva and Parvati were escorted to the bed chamber, where Vishnu and other gods served them duly with honor, and also Lord Shiva also served them, and he was granting boon and honor to all those present there. Thereafter, all the gods took leave of Lord Shiva and went to their respective places. Today we will be reading chapter 52, which is the bridegroom's party is fed and Shiva retires to bed. Today Sunita auntie will be reading in English, and Sushma auntie will be reading in Hindi. Jai Guruji.
Jai Guruji. Shukrana always to Guru Maharaj for granting me this seva. Apologies in advance for any errors. Chapter 52. The bridegroom's party is fed and Shiva retires to bed. Brahma said, "O dear one, then the clever chief of mountains caused suitable arrangements to be made in the courtyard for feeding the visitors. He caused the ground to be swept clean and scrubbed well. Different kinds of fragrant stuffs were used to make the place attractive and pleasing. Then the mountain invited all the gods and others along with the Lord for taking food through his sons and others. O sage, on hearing the invitation of the mountain, the Lord, accompanied by Vishnu, the gods and others, went gladly to take his meal. The mountain received the Lord and all those duly and made them sit in good seats in the inner apartments. After serving sweet and well-cooked delicious foodstuffs, He requested them to take their food with palms joined in reverence and head bent down. Then, duly honored, Vishnu and other gods, keeping Sadashiv at the head, took their food. They sat in rows together, took their food simultaneously, laughing and talking. Nandan, Brigi, Veerabhadra and his Ganas took their meals separately. The fortunate people took food enthusiastically. The gods, with Indra, the guardians of the quarters, all fortunate and brilliant, took their food, cracking jokes and talking. The sages and Brahmins, Brigu and other sages, sat in separate rows and took their food with pleasure. The Ganas of Chandi took their meals and then cracked jokes and talked merrily. After taking meals and rinsing their mouths, Vishnu and others went to their apartments for rest. At the bidding of Mena, the chaste ladies requested Shiva humbly and made him stay in the bedchamber where great festivities were going on. Seated on a gem-set throne offered by Mena, Shiva surveyed the bedchamber with pleasure. It was brightly illuminated with hundreds of gem-set lamps. There were many gem-set vessels, pearls, etc. were gorgeously displayed. Gem-set mirrors, white chowries, pearl necklaces, and gorgeous things were richly displayed. It was unequaled in its divine exquisiteness, highly pleasing and richly decorated. It was evincing the power influence of the boon granted by Shiva. It appeared to be a replica of Shivlok itself. It was richly rendered fragrant with various sweet-smelling substances. It was very bright. There was sandal paste and aguru. Beds were richly strewn with flowers. Many wondrous things of variegated colors and shapes were displayed there. It had been constructed in gems by Vishwakarma himself. In some places, replicas of Vaikuntha, Brahmalok, and the cities of guardians of the quarters were seen. In a certain place, the beautiful Kailash was represented. In another place, Indra's palace was depicted. Overall was represented the Shivlok. Seeing all these wonderful representations, Lord Shiva praised Himavat and was very glad. In that bedchamber, in a beautiful gem-set couch, Lord Shiva lay down with pleasure. Himavat fed all his brothers and others with pleasure and attended to subsequent duties. While the Supreme Lord had his sleep and the Lord of the Mountains was engaged in these duties, the night passed away, giving place to dawn. In the morning, the enthusiastic people began to play on different kinds of musical instruments. Vishnu and other gods got up with joy, remembered the Lord of gods, and excitedly got ready. They got their vehicles ready for departure to Kailash and sent Dharma to Shiva. At the bidding of Vishnu, Dharma went near the bedchamber. The Yogin Dharma addressed Shiva, the Lord of Yogins, in a manner befitting the context. Dharma said, get up, O Shiva, O Lord of Pramathas. Please come over to the audience hall. Make the assembled people gratified. Brahma said, on hearing these words of Dharma, Lord Shiva laughed. He surveyed them with sympathetic looks and got up from the bed. He laughingly said to Dharma, you go ahead, I shall come there presently. There is no doubt in this matter. Thus, addressed by Shiva, he returned to the audience hall. The Lord Shiva too wanted to go. On coming to know of it, the ladies came enthusiastically. With their eyes fixed on the feet of Shiva, they sang auspicious songs. Shiva then, in accordance with the worldly customs, went through his morning routine. He took leave of Mena and the mountain and went to the audience hall. There was great jubilation there, O sage. Vedic mantras were recited loudly. The people played on the 4 kinds of musical instruments. Shiva came to his apartment and bowed to the sages, Vishnu and me, in accordance with the worldly conventions, and was saluted by the gods and others. Shouts of victory and obeisance rose up along with the auspicious sound of Vedic chants. There was great tumult. That's the end of chapter 52, and Sushma Aunty will read in Hindi. Jai Guruji.
अध्याय 52 आरंभ। रात को परम सुंदर सजे हुए वास गृह में शयन करके प्रातःकाल भगवान शिव का जनवासी में आगमन। ब्रह्मा जी कहते हैं, तात तदंतर भाग्यवानों में श्रेष्ठ और चतुर गिरिराज हिमवान ने बारातियों को भोजन कराने के लिए अपने आंगन को सुंदर ढंग से सजाया तथा अपने पुत्रों एवं अन्यान्य पर्वतों को भेजकर शिव सहित सब देवताओं को भोजन के लिए बुलाया। जब सब लोग आ गए तब उनको बड़े आदर के साथ उत्तमोत्तम भोज्य पदार्थों का भोजन कराया। भोजन के पश्चात हाथ मुंह धो कुल्ला करके विष्णु आदि सब देवता विश्राम के लिए प्रसन्नता पूर्वक अपने अपने डेरे में गए। मीना की आज्ञा से साध्वी स्त्रियों ने भगवान शिव से भक्ति पूर्वक प्रार्थना करके उन्हें महान उत्सव से परिपूर्ण सुंदर वास भवन में ठहराया। मीना के दिए हुए मनोहर रत्न सिंहासन पर बैठकर आनंदित हुए शंभू ने उस वास मंदिर का निरीक्षण किया। वह भवन प्रज्वलित हुए सैकड़ों रत्नमय प्रदीपों के कारण अद्भुत प्रभा से उद्भासित हो रहा था। वहां रत्नमय पात्र तथा रत्नों के ही कलश रखे गए थे। मोती और मणियों से सारा भवन जगमगा रहा था। रत्नमय दर्पण की शोभा से संपन्न तथा श्वेत चंवरों से अलंकृत था। मुक्ता मणियों की सुंदर मालाओं अर्थात बंधनवारों से आवेष्टित हुआ वह वास भवन बड़ा समृद्धिशाली दिखाई देता था। उसकी कहीं उपमा नहीं थी। वह महादिक अति विचित्र परम मनोहर तथा मन को आह्लाद प्रदान करने वाला था। उसके फर्श पर नाना प्रकार की रचनाएं की गई थीं। बेल बूटे निकाले गए थे। शिवजी के दिए हुए वर का ही महान एवं अनुपम प्रभाव दिखाता हुआ वह शोभाशाली भवन शिवलोक के नाम से प्रसिद्ध किया गया था। नाना प्रकार के सुगंधित श्रेष्ठ द्रव्यों से सुवासित तथा सुंदर प्रकाश से परिपूर्ण था। वहाँ चंदन और अगर की सम्मिलित गंध फैली हुई थी। उस भवन में फूलों की सेज बिछी हुई थी। विश्वकर्मा का बनाया हुआ वह भवन नाना प्रकार के विचित्र चित्रों से सुसज्जित था। श्रेष्ठ रत्नों की सारभूत मणियों से निर्मित सुंदर हारों द्वारा उस वास गृह को अलंकृत किया गया था। उसमें विश्वकर्मा द्वारा निर्मित कृत्रिम वैकुंठ, ब्रह्मलोक, कैलाश, इंद्र भवन तथा शिवलोक आदि दिख रहे थे। ऐसे आश्चर्यजनक शोभा से संपन्न उस वास भवन को देखकर गिरिराज हिमालय की प्रशंसा करते हुए भगवान महेश्वर बहुत संतुष्ट हुए। वहां अति रमणीय रत्न जटित उत्तम पलंग पर परमेश्वर शिव बड़ी प्रसन्नता से लीला पूर्वक सोए। इधर हिमालय ने बड़ी प्रसन्नता से अपने समस्त भाई बंधुओं एवं दूसरे लोगों को भी भोजन कराया तथा जो कार्य शेष रह गए थे उन्हें भी पूर्ण किया। शैलराज हिमालय इस प्रकार आवश्यक कार्य में लगे हुए थे और प्रियतम परमेश्वर शिव शयन कर रहे थे। इतने में ही सारी रात बीत गई और प्रातः काल हो गया। प्रभात काल होने पर धैर्यवान और उत्साही पुरुष नाना प्रकार के बाजे बजाने लगे। उस समय श्री विष्णु आदि सब देवता सानंद उठे और अपने इष्ट देव देवेश्वर शिव का स्मरण करके वहां से कैलाश को चलने के लिए जल्दी जल्दी तैयार हो गए। उन्होंने अपने वाहन भी सुसज्जित कर लिए। तत्पश्चात धर्म को शिव के समीप भेजा। योग शक्ति से संपन्न धर्म नारायण की आज्ञा से वास गृह में पहुंचकर योगीश्वर शंकर से समायोजित बात बोले। प्रथम गणों के स्वामी महेश्वर, उठिए उठिए, आपका कल्याण हो। आप हमारे लिए भी कल्याणकारी होइए। जनवासी में चलिए और वहां सब देवताओं की को कृतार्थ कीजिए। धर्म की ये बात सुनकर भगवान महेश्वर हंसे। उन्होंने धर्म को कृपा दृष्टि से देखा और शैया त्याग दी। इसके बाद धर्म से हंसते हुए कहा, तुम आगे चलो, मैं भी वहां शीघ्र ही आऊंगा, इसमें संशय नहीं है। भगवान शिव के ऐसा कहने पर धर्म जनवासी में गए। तत्पश्चात शंभू भी स्वयं वहां जाने को उद्यत हुए। ये जानकर महान उत्सव मनाती हुई स्त्रियां वहां आईं और भगवान शंभू के युगल चरणार विंदों का दर्शन करती हुई मंगल गान करने लगी। तदंतर लोकाचार का पालन करते हुए शंभु प्रातःकालिक कृत्य करके मीना और हिमालय की आज्ञा से जनवासे को गए। मुने, उस समय बड़ा भारी उत्सव हुआ। वेद मंत्रों की ध्वनि होने लगी और लोग चारों प्रकार के बाजे बजाने लगे। अपने स्थान पर आकर शंभु ने लोकाचार वश मुनियों को, विष्णु को और मुझको प्रणाम किया। फिर देवता आदि ने उनकी वंदना की। उस समय जय जयकार, नमस्कार तथा वेद मंत्रोच्चारण की मंगलदायिनी ध्वनि होने लगी। इससे सब और कोलाहल छा गया। अध्याय 52 समाप्त। जय गुरु जी। शुक्राना गुरु।